Uluvi's radio and online stories reflect political and economic realities, cultural issues, obsessions, and transitions, as well as artistic adventurousness. Her stories have included a series on women record producers, an investigation into exhibitions of plastinated human bodies, and a look at the legacy of gay activist Harvey Milk. In addition, she has won a Gracie Award from the Alliance for Women in Media Foundation. John Waters is an iconic American filmmaker, actor, director, screenwriter, stand-up comedian, writer, and visual artist, best known for his cult films, including Hairspray, Pink Flamingos, and Cecil B. Demented. He is also the author of a memoir, Role Models. His latest book is Car Sick, John Waters Hitchhikes His Way Across America. Armed with wit, a pencil-thin mustache, and a cardboard sign that reads, "I'm not psycho," he hitchhikes across America from Baltimore to San Francisco, braving lonely roads and treacherous drivers. Car Sick is an unforgettable vacation with a wickedly funny companion and a celebration of America's weird, astonishing, and generous citizenry. Ladies and gentlemen of Miami, eat your makeup. It's John Waters.
Wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see so many of you. And if I may, I'm just curious, how many people in this room have read Car Sick? Okay, good.
Good. Potential sales.
I read it myself just in the past week, and it's probably the most fun I've had reading a book this year. This book is like watching a John Waters movie.
Oh.
So tell me the premise.
The premise is really that I was just going to walk out of my front door in Baltimore and hitchhike to my apartment in San Francisco. But before I left, I decided everybody was saying, what's it going to be like? And they were really nervous about it, so I started to be excited and worried because the fantasy of hitchhiking is always dangerous and sexual. So I thought, well, I'll think up the best things that could happen. So I wrote 15 fantasy rides of the best. And then the worst thing that happened, which obviously hitchhiking is diarrhea and getting murdered. And after I did that, I did the real trip. I could have never thought up the fantasies before I did, but then I did the real version, which was 21 rides in 9 days. And so I wrote the fictional part before I left. I could have never written them after I had already done it, because the one thing I never imagined was the tedium of standing there for 10 hours without getting a ride. But that's not as bad as getting murdered by a serial killer that only kills cult film directors.
I was wondering if you came up with the stories while we were standing on the exit.
No, I didn't. But that's the way the movie could be, that I was imagining the fantasy as well as I was doing it for real. No, I did it all before I left. I wrote my death, I think, 2 days before I left, actually.
So, we know one of the bad things that happens, and the worst, you mentioned it, you're kidnapped by a serial killer who only kills.
Yeah, because everybody said, well, aren't you worried about getting murdered? And I said, well, to be honest, this is a terrible thing, but serial killers usually kill young women. They don't kill 66-year-olds. I'm not anybody's man. That's one thing I was looking for a gerontophiliac, believe me. That's the sexual attraction to old people. We call them wrinkle queens. Now, in the fantasy chapter, I have lots of sex. And I have bad sex in the bad part. But in the real life, it only got close once when I almost had to spend the night in the woods in this truck. I said, I'll make you up a book. You can sleep with me. I thought, wow. I would have for the book. But it didn't. I got a ride before it got dark.
Do you have sex with the good part?
Well, the good part, I have sex in a demolition derby, in the car with the driver, and we win.
And you get picked up by amazing people, including your favorite porn star.
Well, there is a chapter where I get picked up by my favorite porn star, Johnny Davenport, and then we get raped by an extraterrestrial human being, and then I have a magic anus that then sings a duet with Connie Francis.
That's the good part.
Yeah, and my assistant said, I can't tell the difference between the good and the bad. Is that right?
So then when you get kidnapped by the guy back of your truck. There's Quentin Tarantino's gruesomely mutilated body. What are some of the other bad things that happen, and the made-up bad part?
I get picked up by a gay radical that is poisoning products so straight people will have to pay for doing the electric slide. What else happens, man? I get picked up by a radical raw food person that makes me ill. On the good part, I can run away with a circus where I'm on a spinning wheel while they blindly throw hatchets at me, but that would be exciting. I mean, I don't really want that to happen, but for adventure, I would like that, certainly. I find a boyfriend who is a knife salesman. I had a knife salesman boyfriend once, but he was unsuccessful. This one is successful. Because when I met this guy, I said, what do you mean you're a door-to-door butcher knife salesman? He said, yes. I said, who would let you in the house? What housewife is home in the day? Who is it? I'm selling butcher knives. And he said, yeah, it didn't work out so well. Yeah.
I think the worst thing that happens is when you're picked up by a guy who has an enormous goiter on his neck.
Well, I have fear of goiters. And my assistant said, that is ridiculous. Goiters do not spread. But in my book, I catch a goiter. And I'm looking at it, oh my God. And it starts getting bigger and bigger, and then it explodes in one scene. And there is goiter juice. I said the worst, but I didn't say I'm going to write the worst. Don't give me those words unless I can do it. Yeah. And then I get also, the most terrible other thing. My favorite thing is I get kidnapped. This is the most bookish thing. By an insane librarian that only collects uncollectible books and takes them to their alternative readers. And she's been fired from every library by having a porno parody thing in the public schools with children showing Twitty Twitty Bang Bang.
And she basically procures for a certain kind of fetishist.
The fetish readers, the collector that only wants mass market paperbacks done by famous artist covers that have been ripped off to be returned. That's an obscure collector.
No, of course, unsurprisingly, one of the things that happens throughout the good part is you always get picked up immediately.
Always get picked up immediately, which in real life never happens. And I'm an early control freak riser, so I think I get dumber as the day goes along. So I get out there at 6:30 every morning. I never got a ride until at least 11 o'clock. My assistant said, why are you waking up? People that pick up hitchhikers don't get up early, and it's something I learned. Poor planners pick up hitchhikers. They get up later in the day.
And you know, frankly, I mean, in the real journey, just this meeting sounded terrible.
The waiting also makes you really ugly. I'm telling you, I needed so much moisturizer. I look like a Walker Evans photograph. And at the end of Pink Flamingos, there are always jokes on, let's live in gas station lavatories, it'll make us much filthier. Well, I was living in gas station lavatories, and it didn't make me feel that happy at 66. But I would go into the bathroom and think, but I said to him, I would whine to my assistants on the phone. One day I stood there for 10 hours and I said, I have to drink my own urine now. And because I really ran out of water, I didn't really have to do that. But I had to walk back into town through this with a junkyard dog after me, and like, it was really, and then go, it was so embarrassing, go into the Taco Bell and use their bathroom, and all I could remember is I met Anna Turner, and she was an early backer at Taco Bell. I thought, I hope her estate gets a nickel from this, as I was in the Taco Bell bathroom, washing up and brushing my teeth. So pitiful.
So logistically, here you are, you're actually hitchhiking across the country. First question really is why? Why did you say
Why? I had a book advance. One main reason, yeah. And I must admit though, I never cashed it. I mean, I put it in the bank, but I put it in a special account. I didn't spend one penny until I got there in case I chickened out and had to give it back. And I must admit, I never was going to chicken out, but on the third day when I would wake up in that crummy motel room and just hear that dull roar of traffic, which is the soundtrack for the rest of my life in my brain, I would think, am I really doing this? You know, it would kind of shock me when I'd have to walk down to the lunchroom and try to make eye contact with very grim truckers who were not porno stars and who just stared at TVs and never, and then in the one hotel, they were really mean to me. The woman said, I was wait outside, so then I go in the lunchroom with my sign, thinking somebody said, oh, it's John Winters, would you like to ride that? Never happened. And so I'd sit outside sometimes, and then I'd hold my sign up, and I saw a car leaving the parking lot. And the manager came out and said, if you show that sign one more time, I'm calling the police. And I said, well, that man looked like he would have the type that would have picked me up. She said, that was my husband.
So you did get picked up pretty early by a young man who really sort of becomes he's kind of the last person you would expect.
Well, we did have a bromance. He was totally a straight guy. He was a 19-year-old Republican elected official in Millersville, Maryland. He was on the way to get his lunch at the subway in his mom's Corvette. And it was pouring rain. I was drenched. He picked me up. He'd never heard of me. I told him I'd never heard of any of the movies. Knew absolutely nothing about me. We just kept talking. He drove me to Ohio, which is 4 hours away. His parents are freaking. You Google me, it's not pretty. My parents hated you. Friend of the Manson family, because of my friend Leslie. I just won the Gay Man of the Year award. Made the most repulsive movie ever made. It's really like a parent's nightmare. And he drove me all the way there, and then dropped me off, and then he kept texting me, and I got stuck in Ohio. Ohio was the worst. And then it was just really far. I got stuck in Kansas again. He kept saying, I'm going to come get you. And I'm like, yeah. I'm getting a ride in Kansas, a really long ride. He says, I'm on my way. I've been driving 48 hours at 80 miles an hour. And he picked me up in Denver. He finally caught up to me. He was great. Then he told his parents he was there. I thought there was going to be an Amber Alert. He was an adult. And then we had a great time. It was like a bromance, and his friends were texting me like, way to go, you're with a gay man in a hotel. Oh, great, Fred. He's like, and we check in hotels and people were like, hey, John, get lucky, huh? But it was totally innocent, and we just laughed all the way. What kid? I would have done that. It was an adventure. He went to go across the country. We had a great trip. And then when we finally got the second time, I said, well, this is going to be too easy, so I'm going to get out in Reno. I'll just give you the keys to my apartment in San Francisco and go stay there. He said, all right, I'm going to tell my mother about it. I said, well, and he did. He said, there was stunned silence, and then she said, would you just say out loud on the speakerphone what you just told me so your father can hear that? But it was totally innocent, really. And then he stayed in San Francisco, and even after the book, he stayed 3 days. And then he had to drive all the way back. I love him. But he was great, and I've seen him since. He didn't run for office again. He moved out with his mom. He looks great. He's got a new, beautiful, smart girlfriend. So I think it gave him confidence. We had a great time together. He did interviews. He did an interview with the New York Times. But I heard him doing an interview with his hometown paper when he was at my apartment. And he was saying, oh, we've just been shopping, going out to eat. I said, do you realize what that said? Just about laughing.
You also got picked up by, and your cover was kind of blown pretty soon because you did get picked up by some people who recognized you.
I got picked up halfway by Here We Go Magic, a great independent rock group, and they tweeted it, and they said, of course you can do whatever you want, it's your car. And they were shocked at how fast the story got picked up and went all over the country. It was like in every paper, and I still never said it was true. When they called my office, I felt like Henry Kissinger. No comment. But I never said it was true until I actually got to San Francisco, and then I gave an interview with the New York Times about it. But it didn't help me, because once they dropped me off, yeah, everybody in the world knew where I was hitchhiking, but I didn't know where I was. You forget, when you're standing on an entrance ramp, half a month before that, there's a sign saying exit 68. There isn't a little marker right there where I stood before the sign saying it's illegal to come down here. I stood right before that sign, and there is no marker for hitchhikers to tell you where you are. I didn't know where I was. And besides, they might know I'm hitchhiking, but that doesn't mean they're in that state or anywhere near me. So it didn't really ever help me, except once when I was stuck in Kansas, and then I had to hang around this rest area, kind of with no machines or anything, but there was no one there, so it was just me in this empty parking lot. So if a person would come in, I'd run up to the bathroom like such a pervert when people would come out. I'm standing there like that. Can you give me a ride with no one else? It was really creepy. People were pissed. No!
fighting over whether or not it was really used.
Yeah, they said he'd never wear that hat. I said, you didn't see the logo, it said scum of the earth, which was not a smart thing to wear when you're hitchhiking. That's the name of the movie, but when people would see it, I guess in the Holiday Inn lunch area, it wasn't the best way to ride. But I tried to dress conservative, but I look like I'm homeless anyway, just...
Well, people did, and there's actually this very sweet moment where someone insists on giving you money.
The second ride, a farmer, this really nice farmer, we pulled over, he took his wallet out and gave me $10. I thought, does he think I'm a hustler? I'm old, it might be $20. And then I thought to give a lap dance? I didn't know what he was doing. What am I to do for this 20? But it was, to me, and then he was so kind that he was doing it. It was really moving. And another day, I was standing on a ramp, and this woman came over to me with 2 little kids, and, sir, take this money. She really thought I was a homeless guy. I was, and I wouldn't take it, and she wouldn't leave until I took it, so I did take it, and I gave it to somebody else. But still, I felt like, why don't you give her $500? I felt bad when she laughed, but it was really generous. People were kind and generous. And most people, and there's some people I would say, I was hitchhiking, they go, no, they say, what do you do for a living? And I say, well, I'm a film director. I could say, they go, I'm Jack Kennedy. Sure you are.
So how has hitchhiking changed from when everyone used to do it in the 60s?
I don't know. As I say, everybody over 50 has hitchhiked and would never do it again. Everybody under 30 has never hitchhiked and wants to, but is afraid to. It is the same. When I was young, it wasn't bad to hitchhike. I went to a Catholic school. Everybody hitchhiked home for cross-decks. My parents expected me to. They didn't think it was bad. The same perverts around there. You just said yes or no if you'd done your homework. To me, everyone gets a proposition from a hitchhike. Big deal. That's part of it. You say yes or you say no. So what? I picked up a hitchhiker and had sex with him. And I've hitchhiked and had sex with a person who picked me up. Not recently. The last time I picked up a hitchhiker was in Baltimore, and it was about 5 years ago, and it was in the daytime. And he jumped in the car and started huffing glue. I said, well, make yourself comfortable. He said, want some? Not on Tuesday morning, maybe Friday night. He huffed the glue and got out. It was all right, really. I guess he just needed real estate. For about an hour or whatever.
So were there commonalities in people that picked you up? Is there a type?
That's why I had an ear infection. Don't worry, you won't catch it because we have oral relationships. A-U-R. I'm sorry.
Is there a personality type? Do you think the kind of person who picks up?
Well, they're kind people that pick up hitchhikers. They want to talk. They like to hear people's stories. And the men that pick me up, I would all say, were heterosexual. I don't think a gay person picked me up. And they all praised how much they loved their wife and how smart she was. The women were all smart. Everybody was, the men I felt had reinvented themselves. They had been, at one time, maybe had trouble with drugs or the law or something, but they had beaten that, and their wives were a big part of beating that, and it was their second wife. So I always, because they probably got married very, very young, I always say to all the women I know, that I can never find a straight man. Go hitchhike over at 70. And they like women. But you'll be breaking up a happy marriage. You gotta move there early, and then be the second wife, and you'll find happiness.
There are a couple of women who are really the heroes of your book, and they are your staff.
Oh yeah, my staff, who really bore the brunt of it, and they were really horrified that I was doing this. They couldn't talk me out of it, because, I said, well, who's going to pay all year? I gotta get a job here. So, but I did talk to them at all, and they did a huge amount of research before we laughed about because in the fictional parts, it still is true where the cities are, they do have a jail. It's all could definitely happen, where there is a demolition derby there, all that. They did a huge amount of research before we left, and I whined to them every day on the phone. There was nothing